So before we get to the big controversial moment, right? So I should mention quickly. So when you make it back to the endurance now, Romilly has aged
I think
23.
so, roughly,
it's 23 years past. 23.
Right. 23. Oh.
Yeah.
One of the most devastating time jumps in all of cinema.
Yeah, and it gets, and you see just how hard it is, boy, because Cooper is watching roughly 23 years of messages from, his son and daughter, right?
Is he highlight for the movie?
And
it is
boy,
Matthew McConaughey acting skills.
Yeah, and him crying and nodding and laughing and smiling and crying and nodding, boy, is boy, that breaks your heart, boy. Especially when you see Tom, that would be his son, right? Who's played by Casey Affleck at this point, talking about how he found the right one, and now he married, and now he have a son and all that kind of stuff. But seeing him seeing Cooper cry during those moments, and then of course hearing Zimmer's music in the background, boy, I almost get my tears. Right? But there's the last piece, boy, where you see Jessica Chastain now, who plays Murph, right? Because Murph get older. Yeah, and she sends one message, right? And that's on her birthday, because she's talking about, you promised me years ago that you were going to come back,
That
boy,
was a gut punch.
Yeah. My tears were forming. I would admit that. Yeah. Right. So, but then
this is the most controversial part of the movie, though.
We get to there, right? But just a little plot reveal here. We learn now that Murph is now working at NASA, so she's assisting Professor Brand, right? And she's even there at his deathbed, right? And this is where she get the big reveal now. So he mentions Plan A was designed to fail. Plan B was really what he was more rooting for.
What happened is that so Brand just never solved the problem.
Oh right, yes, he said that. Yes.
Basically what happened is that I don't know if he was lying about solving the problem or he just wasn't being close. He just couldn't solve it. Now the question is whether or not he knew if there was a solution at all. Like it have a lot of math problems that are pure dead ends. Like a lot of math things that are pure dead ends, but then have many math things that we thought were dead ends, and then literally decades or centuries later, somebody actually solved it.
Right,
and it's one of those, right?
But Ricardo, if I could stop you there, right? There's a moment actually where prior to his death now, there's a moment where she's looking at all the figures, the calculations and stuff that he wrote on the board, and she was saying, well, no, that's wrong, or maybe you're looking at it at a different way now.
Exactly. And that's the problem, is that he was just kind of, because of the plan A, he lie about it and then claim, and you can say it's his own ego too now. He claimed he didn't let anybody come and see the problem because they would have figured out it's kind of bullshit now. So he just hide it on his own now. I get the intention back and forth about that now. So I don't know. It's to give people hope now. But just like
my interpretation of it was explicitly that it was ego. Essentially, the scientists had come to the conclusion that the problem was essentially foundationally unsolvable.
Right.
And so they didn't want to waste any time trying to they made the decision, essentially, they just straight up played God. They made the decision. It's okay, we're not going to be able to save mankind this way. This problem is unsolvable. There's no way to solve it. So we're just going to focus on plan B. But
it was all plan B. Right.
It was plan B all along. There's actually there's a character we haven't talked about yet who literally says in the weird detached clinical way people are so much more. We can only get people to fight to preserve their themselves and the people they know.
Exactly.
Get people to fight.
This is where the cynicism of it comes in now, right? Again, it's the cynical atheist. That's what it feel like. And when you meet another character, who was basically lined up with Dr. Brand, the older Dr. Brand. But to me, this is probably the most controversial part of the movie, and it is very frustrating because I felt I think it have a way to fix this. But we'll get to this now, which is the daughter talks about the relationship between love and gravity for some reason.
Yeah. Okay, so all right. So if I get to share my thoughts quickly, right? So that moment, right, is where they have two plans to pick from, right? is
they've gone back from Miller's planet, and now they have to pick between the two remaining planets.
Yes, it's either Dr. Edmonds or Dr. Mann, right? So Amelia picks Edmonds' planet, and then you find out, she was actually in love with Edmonds, right? In retrospect, retrospect, I am iffy over the fact that we now drop in this, like, why wasn't this mentioned when you were in Nora?
This was alluded.
But again, there's a better part of the script, right? Which is all of these highfalutin, higher scientists, but all of them still ethically compromised because of their own personal emotions. Right? That's what it is. That's why it works. And multiple characters are like this. Yeah.
One of the things that I also thought was really great about that whole... So first of all, they actually do allude to her being... Because he actually has a conversation with Tars earlier.
Right.
Because he observed... there was something she did that kind of betrayed to him that she, had a relationship or had some kind of relationship with Dr. Edmonds. And he and the robot had a whole conversation about it. Well, where he tried to get the information out of the robot, and the robot didn't. Essentially didn't come out of that. But the reason they end up that she has the whole... Okay, I love me some stylized dialogue. There's a lot of lines and monologues in film that other people are like, this was so cheesy, that I'm like, this was great, actually. Right. But I love stylized dialogue. And as someone who loves stylized dialogue, I am fascinated at how many people this monologue was the breaking point. Like this, it's fascinating to me.
I remember somebody laughing in the theater about this. I watched the scene, and I watched the scene, and I was like, wait, boy, Nolan, like, I get what he was going for here,
Me too.
I know. Here's the thing, they could have fixed this after. Not this scene itself. They could have keep it as is, We have to do something else after to address it and fix it. That's all I'll see.
Right. If I could just give him a point out with my thoughts on this, right? Because I know you guys are going to go on, well, not too on and on, right? But here's the thing, right? So I get where she's coming from, right? I like that it comes right after the fact that, she was going after this data recorder on Dr. Miller's planet, but then, the guy died, right? With the flood, right? Sorry, with the water, right? And I actually quoted this line. I actually wrote this on, right? So she says, I'm drawn across the universe to someone I haven't seen in a decade who I know is probably dead. Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions between time and space. All right. I get it. And you could kind of see the contrast with Cooper, because there's a moment where, when he found out about the whole 7 years, 1 hour equal 7 years, he's like, well, yeah, so if you think you're going back home to your family, forget that, you ain't coming back home now. So I get the contrast there, right? But the problem is, to me, is that you just basically risking the lives of the remaining crew members over just this basic need to reunite with your love, right? But Cooper get called out now when he was thinking in a similar way, because he would have reached, I think Doyle did it, right? He would have reached back home to his family, right? But they justify on why he has to, the man love his family. He's a single parent, right? But, let's wrap things up, right? So, because of what happened on Miller's planet, right? The risk is bigger now with any one of these two planets. You don't know what's going to happen, and yet she's willing to take that risk for love.
Right.
So overall, it's a conceit that I understand thematically, right? But when you pair it with science, it's a huge stretch, though, in my opinion.
All right. So here's, in my humble opinion, a quick way to fix this. I have no idea if this would have worked. But this is what I would have tried to address. So remember, Romilly is the character I would have used to address this. So Romilly, I felt what Romilly should have done. Here's the thing. Romilly spent 23 years by himself, right? And presumably he didn't go crazy.
No.
So what I would have done with Romilly is that he would have become kind of like a sage, like a philosopher sage type. He learned all this thing, and he's still a physicist.
Yeah, and he did say he spent a lot of time reading anyway. He was learning about quantum. He was learning about quantum. It was quantum physics. He said he was studying, right?
He learned a bunch of shit. But the point is, he was already a physicist. So now the version of Romilly we see is basically, if you get this reference, you'll laugh. It's a damn nerd reference, but basically is time wizard and dark magician making dark sage, right?
Okay.
He becomes like a sage. So he's like a philosopher type now. And then when Dr. Brand said a love talk now, you can immediately dismiss it and laugh at it. But what he could say is that, what she's saying is not complete nonsense. It's sounding like nonsense, well, let me try to translate this to make this make sense, right?
Right.
And I will admit that this moment was some real Jordan Peterson shit. Let me admit that. Right? It's some real, but I felt you could have, like, again, it's a movie, so like you could have squared someone. In my humble opinion, what they could have done is address a concept in philosophy of mind known as panpsychism. Right? What panpsychism attempts to do. I don't know how popular it is. It's kind of popular. I don't like it as a philosopher myself. But what it does is it tries to square consciousness with matter. Say, hey, how come you have consciousness and matter? Right? AKA love. Love is a side effect of consciousness. You have to be conscious to love somebody. Right? Or at least somewhat conscious to be aware that you're in love with somebody. So what he could do is say, and again, I don't know if this would have fixed the movie in any meaningful way, but this is my attempt to address it to make it not come across as completely laughable. He would have tell Coop, much like how he explained to Coop the black hole thing earlier, he would have explained this to Coop as well. And just to get Coop on the side of saying, after the fact now, maybe. Like, just kind of windshield. Even it still won't convince Coop to side with her because she effectively lied. But he would be like a little more receiving to the idea for him to accept the idea later with what he had to do later. Because he himself accept the whole love is quantifiable thing later, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I do with this. Small change in the script to make it make sense to not have people laugh in the theater. That was my thing. So
I understand.
It was a little weird to hear somebody laughing at Nolan movie now.
Well, I should mention one last thing before we get to CC's thoughts on that scene before we move forward, right? Yeah, this was the moment where my friend, when I saw it for the second time in movie town, she's like, nah, I don't like that. Because it was just so hard to believe. Like, you're really going to risk everything for love? Like, you really want to do that?
No, but here's the thing, if you are big-time Catholics, I know real Catholics love this scene. That scene make perfect
really?
sense. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, yeah. Because of how, because of how on the nose it is. Yes.
They'll tell you, no, God is love, and God is love, and God is the universe, and God is transcendent of ontology. And if God is love, love transcends everything. That's simple. That's simple logic to them, right? If you're Catholic, you don't want to be some old school Catholic neither. And love this thing, love this scene. I know enough of them, right? I tell you, real Catholics like this movie.
But the science too, like a science trip.
But that's the thing. No, like to them. God is love and God is universe and God run all the rules and love is part of that, right? Because it's God.
Yeah,
that's it.
I get it. Yeah, but before we move forward, CC, any thoughts on the love? Well, not love conquers all, but love is the strongest force in the universe.
I do not have a problem with the sequence. I don't think. Like, I think for me, I don't like. Even when I was watching it, I recognized this was the scene that some people just broke them. I think it's really interesting because I feel like the movie up until this point has been so. I mean, for most people, movie has been so like, grounded maybe is the word I'm looking for. Like up until this point, the movie has been decently grounded, and then. Now I feel like this is why I think more than any other scene in the movie, this is the big polarizing moment. This is the moment where you're either like, this movie is great.
You know what it reminds me of? Signs. It have a whole heap of people who will tell you, no, signs make perfect sense. And it's real Catholic talking points, eh?
I'm Episcopalian. I'm Episcopalian. I'm not that far.
But you see the problem, right? Again, I'm not making a case. I'm not making no case. So I'm just telling you what I'm hearing from people. I don't making up. I don't have a opinion one way or the other, right? But it's the same thing. It's the same. Look, if you're not religious, you won't get it. If you are religious, you totally get it. And like Nolan just catered to that. To me, Nolan very deliberately catered to that crowd. It really feel like that. They're like, you serious? Like. Why would anybody think this? And everybody and their mother would just say, nah, this is some goofy nonsense.
But for me, I feel like, as I said, the movie starts and early on sets up this romantic tone, right? Like this whole idea of like, it's very, like this is a movie, a genuine, like again, like this being a movie about how like the best ideas of like, like humanity and everything, like we must strive for these ideas and these ideas beyond our understanding that are motivating us to go out in space and all this kind of thing. Like, it sets that up early on, so for me it didn't feel like, I feel like that for me is why it didn't feel like this wasn't the moment that strained credulity. Well, because like everyone else was watching is like, wow, this movie with drones and spaceflight and these plausible robots and this realistic model of what a black hole looks like. Now they're having a monologue about love. But to me, it feels completely consistent with the earlier scenes in the movie where, like he's talking about how we were looking up at the stars, looking for our place in it, Like, I'm like, okay, this is clearly the same movie. But I recognize that for a lot of people, that is not the case. And I find that really interesting. Like, a lot of people don't pick up on some of that stuff early on, I don't think. And then, so for them, this monologue comes out of nowhere.
Right.
And
the thing is, her making a statement, right, is what kind of statement she's making, right? In terms of, like, is it a scientific, because she says transcends, and she makes a claim towards conceits of scientific claims. She said love transcends gravity.
Yes.
So it's hard for me to like defend this, and again, it's a total, like, we started to get into Jordan Peterson territory here with this kind of well, how I should interpret this, and if it's metaphor and literal. But to some people say no, there's no distinction between metaphor and literal. There's just two dialects of the same language or something like that, or whatever. But
he's also like very good at making saying smart sounding nonsense.
Thank you. And Jordan Peterson. I felt he should at least cater to.
Jordan Peterson is to philosophy what Elon Musk is to science. If you don't know what they're talking about, you think they're really smart, but the minute you actually know, you're like, what are you saying?
No, it's but like, this is like
Doug Walker in film is the same way. Doug Walker,
right? No, this is the closest. This is the closest I'll get to defending Jordan Peterson, right? But there is a thread there of something he's trying to say, right? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I don't think he's just particularly equipped for that. He's a smart person. Otherwise, again, I don't have too much of an opinion over him. But in terms of the content of a movie, because it's a movie, you can get away with that. You can say, look, in this movie, this scientific conceit is real. But like how I accept in Star Trek, you could fly faster than light, but then they come up with a bullshit reason as to why you can fly faster than light. Same thing. And that's my internal universe scientific thing. I'm not trying to actually square these philosophical ideas. Because if I was, if Nolan could have done that, he wouldn't be making a movie. He would be like actually solving the problem for real.
Right. Like he would. No, exactly. Like he wouldn't be. This wouldn't you're completely right. He wouldn't be making a movie. He would be like out there, like philosophizing. Like he's packaging philosophical ideas in the form of art, specifically. And this is where I felt.
This is why I felt he underutilized Romilly. Because Romilly could have just been the, for lack of a better term, the olive branch towards the more skeptical end of the crowd. To say, no, I could make a little more sense to that side of this argument. Right? These people who want groundedness and scientific rigor and things that have to make sense and the maths have to work out. And Nolan had everybody until that point. And I was very shocked that many people turned on Nolan over this. Because listen, and people in the audience was laughing, and they was laughing the same way they was laughing at Martin Batman v Superman.
Oh wow!
It was that. It was kind of bad. I was like, wait, boy, this movie just one script punch up.
Yeah.
One more pass in the script could have fixed this thread. And then we had to get the other sequence later.
All right, so let me talk about the Martian for a bit, right? Matt Damon, right? Yeah. By the way, first time I saw this movie, I was shocked. I was like, "Wait, you in this movie too? What?"
So that cracked me up when you see the bag rip open. It's like,
yeah, the cryogenic bag. Yeah, I was like, "Wait, you in this too?" And it's so funny, right? Because a year afterwards, like I said, he would do the Martian. Yeah. So it's like, hey, two sci-fi movies, right? Yeah. But yeah, he plays Dr. Mann, and before I forget, I love the ice plant, right? And it's one of those things where when you hear ice plant, you're thinking like some campy, flash going thing from the 50s, from the 30s. Right. But this one feels...
Hot from Star Wars.
Yeah, of Planet Hot, right? But this one looks like the most realistic ice planet I've ever seen. What you put the moment
it's
that
a really cool small moment.
with the cloud.
Really cool small moment.
Plus, when
the
I
cloud, yes,
the cloud
that
boy
real hard.
was frozen. Like what?
Yeah, that catch you. That real catch you. That was
wow.
real dread.
Yeah. But that's to share my piece on Dr. Man, right? I know you have a bone to pick about The Martian, right, Ricardo? But yeah,
I love The Martian.
Okay.
I love The Martian.
Well,
yeah.
Dr. Man, right? But anyway, so I love how at first he real cool and everything, he knew about the planet, he knew about how it works, and he talk about how, it's how much hours? I think it's that's 16 hours. I think it's like 67 hours of sun and 67 hours of darkness or whatever. I think it's something like that, right?
Yes, he's listing off all the facts about the planet.
all the facts, all that kind of stuff, right? But the first red flag when I rewatched this was the robot, right? The Taz-like robot, right? Yeah, can you talk about, he was trying to check on something, but it wasn't working properly, so he had him decommissioned. So, don't worry about it. I'll repair it soon enough, right? That was a big red flag, right? But I wasn't even thinking about it. Yeah, that was the first red flag. I didn't think.
Romilly spelled the bullshit too.
Yeah, because, we get to Romilly, what happened to him, unfortunately, a bit, right? But then Amelia now gets a message that Murph sent right after Amelia's dad died, right? Because she was like, look, Plan A is a lie and all that kind of stuff, right? And it's how conveniently Amelia get it at that time when they talking to Dr. Man, right? And then, Amelia's shocked, and of course, Coop's shocked as well, too. And Man is like, well, yeah, I knew this too. The doctors who were sent on these plans, we knew this too. We knew that Plan B was going to be the thing there. And just, by the way, just the music at that point and the tension, you felt that. You really, really felt that, right? It reminded me of Dark Knight Rises with the whole built on a lighting. It reminded me of that, like the moment when Bane is all talking about, it's all built on a lie. Whatever the Bane voices. It reminded me of that. It was the built on a lighting. I was like,
it's the whole, like a lot of it is the whole platonic noble lie stuff, right?
Yes.
It's that, they do this thing to get people to push forward. Otherwise, they would do nothing.
Yes, like literally... Right. Yeah, literally the thing we were talking about earlier about how, like the thing that Dr. Man says, where he's talking about like, well, you can't, people won't, just, no one would agree to work on this project if it was just this idea we were going to save the human race in the vaguest of terms. We had to give them the false hope that we would actually be able to save them and their loved ones and everything. And it ties into this bigger idea, and we'll get into this more with Dr. Man's turn, but there's kind of this ongoing theme. It goes back to what we were saying earlier about how, for me, the film kind of rebukes the Ayn Rand thing of, mostly rebukes this idea, the Ayn Rand thing of, if only we could get all the smart people together to build a civilization, the world would be a better place. Because it is clear that the scientists, it's not that they don't know what they're doing, but they are out of their depth a little bit. They kind of, there's a lot of stuff that they theoretically out. They had figured out a lot of this stuff theoretically. They had figured a lot of this stuff out in their heads, like, okay, it's going to go this. But when it came to the practical reality, that had not occurred to them.
Right.
Like they hadn't, and like in scientific terms, they hadn't factored in, like they hadn't accounted for the human factor.
Right.
They hadn't at all. And I think that's why that's part of going back. That's why the love monologue to me makes so much sense, because the film is pretty explicitly saying that stoicism and logic aren't going to save us because there's things about the human condition that logic will not account for.
Right.
And so it's important to remember that we must embrace, this is where it ties directly into romanticism. This is why it is important to embrace our emotions and our feelings and love and this idea of all this other stuff, which... Yeah, and I think the way Dr. Man goes ties further into that. Yes,
and I think it's a metaphor for Christopher Nolan as a filmmaker himself. Because I was within the camp that Nolan can't really talk to people, right? At these films, his films are a technical marvel, but I never got the emotional end of things for him. He has to tell me that. He has always been one of these filmmakers who, like for me, never worked for me in that sense. That's why I don't really consider him the true great. Like he's great, but it's when it comes to like metaphors and conceits, maybe, but not emotion. When it comes to emotion, you have to just spell it out. And I find it kind of simplistic in that way. I forget somebody make a metaphor, a joke about it. I forget what it's called. It's slipping my mind right now. You see it when it comes to writing women. Carry write women all that well. Right? You have a couple of good female characters, but a lot of his female characters not that great. Like, that's why you just notice it.
Yeah.
So that is how I feel about it in that way. This is the crux of the movie, right? It's just that morality idea aspect of it, the utility stuff versus the deontic stuff, and how to treat people, and just the plan was just to leave billions of people to death, to their fate.
Yeah.
And that was like an interesting argument about how Earth was going to be more or less unsurvivable, but it didn't have a really good sense of the other planets, and then Rand had to do her own thing, but like why? And then they get into the whole thing with man now. And this is one of the best sequences of the movie, in my opinion.
It is, right? This is the heel turn, which for me, first time I saw was rather unexpected, right? So, they're on the canyon and they're talking and whatnot, and then he just pushed Cooper down the side of it, right? And basically his plan is just to take the ships and let the other side just know that the planet is inhospitable. Right. And just pretty much leave them behind. And I love how he just admit, Cooper just called him a coward. He's like, I kind of am. Yeah. But it's justified because he's been on that planet for so long and endured so much, right?
He's explained everything in terms of your neuroscience. It's like, you're thinking about your daughter and your children because of the neurons in your firing in your brain, that kind of stuff. That work. It's good like villain.
It's one of Matt Damon's best performances.
Agreed. Yes. And very unexpected with just the morality that he showed there, right? Yeah. And that moment in particular really reminded me of Ad Astra. De-romanticized, the romantic version of space, right? Yeah, you're lonely up there. You have nobody to talk to, right? So somebody like him, who all he have is just a robot. Yeah, like, dog, somebody come and they want to stay here. All right, cool. I gotta take this ship and bust up because I know the reality of things, right? In retrospect, the fight scene is kind of funny in a sense because for me, can never.
It's middle-aged scientist trying to fight.
Yeah, but it's like an astronaut on astronaut fight. But where a man came through was the headbutt though. It is, when they try to fight and they're using the propulsors and all that kind of stuff, right? But when he headbutts him, it's like, okay, now he's thinking. Now he's kind of thinking, right? He headbutted him like a few times and he just run away.
Break the glass,
yeah.
Oh, that bit haunted me. Like, I was watching that, I was like, what's he going to do? And I feel like for me, once Dr. Man goes cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, he becomes completely unpredictable because you're going, okay, whoa, what's he going to do now? And then he starts smacking their helmets together and you're like, oh shit. Like, oh no.
And it's how he's talking in between the fight too. And he's like, no, you don't understand. You see, this is why I'm doing this. That what makes it kind of, it's both tragic but kind of funny and dark at the same time now. But you really understand what's coming
I read it's a really well shot scene.
Yeah. And boy, poor Romalido, I forgot about this because he realized the data that was on the TARS robot, it was false, right? And then there was this basically it was set to blow up now. So like the more you tinker around it, boom, it blows up, right? So he dies, right? The moment where man uses the Ranger to try to dock to the Endurance, I love that, right? And for me, this is another 2001 reference because while I was watching this, there's a moment where Cooper is like, kind of tell them, don't dock there, It reminds me of which is probably the most famous line from 2001, open the podway doors, Hal. Is that, right? I'm telling you to do something, but you're not listening to me. That's what it is, right? But
I think and I think for me the thing about Dr. Man in particular that is so striking is that during his monologuing, he explains that, I think that for me, his betrayal is so much worse because it's not even that, like, the whole reason they decided to prioritize Dr. Man, the whole reason they decided to go to his planet instead of Murph's and why they didn't buy her love stuff was that Cooper kept saying, Dr. Man's planet looks more promising. And then they reveal that Man was lying because he tried following the plan. He tried being objective. He tried being calm and rational and all this stuff. But it's what you were saying, the crushing weight and loneliness of space was too much. And so he lied about the data because he knew that if he did that, they'd come get him. And it was the only way they were going to come get him. And that, for me, is... I don't... Like that revelation, almost more than anything else, absolutely took me aback. Because it's like... I don't know, because, like, yeah, these scientists had no idea... Like they had a rough idea what the plan... Like, they had a rough idea. Like, they had this all theoretically figured out. But when it came to, like, actually having it figured out and actually knowing what the emotional and mental cost of this was going to be... Clearly, because especially since up until the heel turn, what's the thing they keep saying? Oh, Dr. Man was the best of us. Dr. Man is the best of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's the most trusted here.
Yes.
Like, he's the most trusted. He's the smartest. He's the one, like, he's the one who's going to get all the stuff. Like, and so to have him snap because he wasn't prepared for reality.
This reminds me of an old story. This reminds me of an old story.
Let's go.
Ah, shit, boy. Oh. The second I think of it, I immediately thought of this person. So, okay, back in the 90s or something, like, this was about 5 years before me, right? Mm-hmm. This dude was like the brightest student in elec, right? As an elec guy. And this dude was so smart. He was like A plus A, this A, so and so, the brightest ever. And then he did this, like, presentation, this final year presentation that blew away everybody. Like, blew away. So it's like, yeah, well, good. And then come to like 2-3 weeks later, you know, he and his man like this is full scholarship to Britain or whatever it is. This is a new year. And then come about 2-3 weeks later, somebody email back the professor to say, hey, this brilliant project, this kind of my project that I did several years prior. Like, oh shit. Like, it's like the man is plagiarizing whole final year journal.
Wow.
Like, fucking hell. That like really embarrassed you. Like, because this boy, the proper boy there. Yeah. Like, after that, they cook everybody after that.
Oh, wow.
That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of that. It have a lot of this. The pressure is getting you eventually kind of thing there. Mm-hmm. You have to know, you have to be, sorry to say it, the humility not there. And it is just kind of cook your brain. And in this case, is literally the entire of humanity.
Yes.
So, you're rather lie. You're rather lie than fail. You're rather lie than
that's a great point there. Yeah. So that's a wrap up the sequence here, right? So I swear, like, this was kind of inspired by Gravity, or probably not, right? But that moment where the airlock blows, right? And he's still talking, right? He says, there is a moment, and then silence, and the airlock blows. Listener, I played that scene when I was rewatching this twice, and I jump in because the sound cuts off, the music cuts off, and the explosion happens, and he just sucks out. I was like, wow, boy. That was massive.
That when he was saying about us. And in my head, I was thinking, you know, he got totally dead, right? Like, it's some shit he got.
Well, we know he's gonna dead. It's just how. Sorry, die is just how, right?
I mean, the same way, because remember the lock-in clamps was causing problems.
Yes.
This motherfucker got dead. Like, he got dead now.
Yeah, but
it's a great sequence. The timing of it is perfect.
Like, it is, right? But that's to wrap things up, right? So there's a moment now where, well, because of that explosion, the endurance is damaged, right? And there's a wide shot where you see the ice planet in the background. You see the endurance spinning, right? And you see this ranger going close. I'm like, desktop wallpaper. That's a desktop wallpaper shot. The debris,
yeah.
Very gravity-like, but just the way how they frame it. But I was like, holy shit, boy, this movie, right?
This is when Coop became the hero, John.
Yes, because he flies his way and he somehow ducks it. I'll close this, right? I'll close this. This scene is another one of the best scenes in the movie. One of the best. Yeah, just that moment, boy. And my God, the music, boy. When I say this movie has Nolan's highest heights, this is it. Yeah, that scene, boy. My God.
So fucking good for me, because the music's at a swell. And the part where he tell it's Case or Taz? I forget which one.
I think it's Taz. Because Taz was on board. Yeah.
And he said, yeah, what Taz? This is the hard line, because it's the hard line. And when the boy he said, Coop, it's not possible. And he said, no, it's necessary.
I love that line.
Yep.
That's a baller line. Because when they think about probability, usually when we think about probability, we say they think possible or impossible. But there's a third option, necessary, right? It's a great line, though. It's such a great, like, philosophy line, too, now. Because, like, philosophers in the audience, like, listen, that moment, when I read that, it was like, I just turned to the side and just watch an invisible camera. Like, Nolan, what you doing, baby? This is real hard, Nolan, baby. You know, man. This is so epic. Yeah, the music swelling, the camera spinning, how they cut to this. And listen, this song, this is Hans Zimmer at his finest, eh?
Yes.
This sequence is so epic. And there's a love this sequence. And then right after they clamp. Oh, by the way, this is a scene where he starts speaking in imperial units. So it was 20 meters out earlier. This time it's 20 feet out, 6 feet out. And it's like, because it's just pure intuition there. Mm-hmm. It's like, you had to be that guy. And Cooper was that guy right now.
Yeah.
Great. Love this scene though.
Yeah, this scene was amazing, boy, right? So before we get to the third act, right? So, from there now, Cooper come up with this plan basically to take the, you can tell me if I'm wrong, Ricardo, right? To use the gravitational pull of Gargantua, right? To slingshot the Endurance towards Edmund's planet, right? If you remember, this is where Amelia's true love is, right?
To get there in time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I just love how they just build on the drama of it too, especially when Cooper sacrifice himself. It's just like, I go in there too. I go in there too.
It wasn't a slingshot. It wasn't necessarily a slingshot. What it was to get, it was kind of like a slingshot, so it's a kind of skipstone thing. So the idea was to get to it and then drop off the mass.
Right.
Drop off the mass, so the momentum will be maintained.
Right.
So you have the extra, if the momentum is maintained, you increase the velocity by a lot. It's kind of something like that, something like that.
Right.
But yeah, that's
and this is where we get the black hole sequence, boy, and just to touch on that visually, boy.
Controversial sequence.
Okay. Here's the thing.
Really?
Here's the thing.
Yes.
Throughout the entirety of this movie, right, I was telling myself, okay, I trust Nolan, I trust Skip. What I'm seeing on screen is as authentic as possible, right? So I'm watching this, I'm watching the black hole, I'm seeing the sort of like white ash, and I'm seeing like this fiery hail and all that kind of stuff hitting the ship and whatnot. I'm telling myself, even when I was recapping this, okay, this is how black holes work. But I tell myself, all right, while I'm doing this review here, I will ask you how valid all this stuff is. Is it authentic or isn't it?
The actual black hole itself, from what I understand, is quite authentic, as far as I know.
Okay.
But the Tesseract, right? So the Tesseract is the sci-fi part. So this is where the people who build I don't know if they build the black hole or they build the structure in the black hole. I couldn't tell. I don't know what's different.
No, I don't think they said it. They just said, the beings did these things, right? So it's almost like you just have to accept that.
Whatever.
They just did everything. They just designed everything for our heroes to get to that point. It felt like that.
But for Cooper to survive in the black hole, they build a structure, and they call it the Tesseract. Is this structure that can somehow handle all of the gravitational forces and whatever it is, and not be event horizon, time dilation, and all of that shit. You could just operate like normal, and apparently time travel is possible with this thing. So this is where the story comes up, and it's revealed, there's a big plot reveal, Cooper is the ghost.
Yes. Which was at the time when, which was at the time when I saw it, it was a really fascinating reveal. Because I wasn't really thinking about the whole ghost thing at the time. I was just thinking about, he has to do what he have to do to save the planet or whatever it is, right? So this is where
things get real. This is where things get real unclear to me. So apparently, Cooper, apparently, I don't know if he got the information from the people and he know what to tell the daughter. Like, why did he tell the daughter this? But he apparently gave the daughter the information to solve the problem.
Well, remember what happens is Tars is in the black hole with him.
Yeah, right? and Tars is kind of explaining, I'll put it like this, sorry to cut you, CC, I'll put it like this, right? So, like, while Cooper is observing what's going on and figuring things out, Tars is the one who's saying, well, yeah, because he can't believe it, right? But Taz is like, well, I mean, here you are and you're seeing this thing, so it kind of is. It's all happening. So roll with it, dude. He's almost like that guy kind of tell him, look, I don't know what's going on either, but it seems to be real, so just roll with it.
Yeah, and so I've seen a handful of different ways to write the sequence, and all of them are better than what I saw here.
Oh, wow.
I like how the sequence is done. It looks great.
I love that whole weird
right.
sort of like you see like different like blocks, but they all the same. They're all like these blurry versions of the same library.
You know, you take Citizen Caine and carry it to the next level, right? With all that, remember?
With the reflections. Yeah.
Like that. But right, no, I find visually it looks great because you're seeing how multiple dimensions might look at higher levels or whatever it is. Don't know. But it's just basically you in our room. You ever go in our dressing room with our 4 mirrors? That bullshit.
Right.
Look at like that. Look hard. Great effect. It look good. But yeah, I think a couple problems. The whole time travel aspect of it. This is something that we just listen, since effing Terminator, we constantly have this argument of time travel and time paradoxes, and if you could go back and change the past, then means you didn't do the past. And who is the future people who build this? And Cooper was just saying things that didn't make sense to me. So he said that we saved ourselves, right? So, but how we was alive to save ourselves in the first place? Like, this is the typical Terminator bullshit, right?
Good point.
And listen, everybody who defend this will point to some 3-hour lecture on that. They'll point to some physicists. And like, that is not the point, right? Like, this is the point of the story. Like, as a story, it don't work.
Yeah.
Because if you have to reject any sense of classical causality for this to make sense, which I've fine, right? Physics is not intuitive. I get that. But the problem is that if you're saying physics not intuitive, then the story can also be intuitive. Because now when you say something like that, I can't accept any like sense of like urgency anymore now. Right? Same problem I had with Arrival, all the time travel, the same shit. Right? Every one of these arguments, I had these arguments for 20 damn years now, you keep going on the same argument. Right? My humble opinion, this is another script change in my humble opinion. For me, again, don't know if this will be better, just my script change on what I would have done otherwise. To me, I felt what it should have done, what should have been the big reveal, is that the people who built the black hole was a timeline where humans didn't survive. But I don't understand. It'll be a timeline first, and then they come back in time to help whoever it is. And the presumable thing is that, I just interpreted from the Star Trek interpretation of how time travelers work, which is you have a timeline, and then you go back and you create a branch timeline. Right? That bullshit. Okay. That also is not true, from what I understand. Right. It makes sense to me from a storytelling perspective, right? So my fan rewrite would have been, the big reveal would have been that the people who build the black hole and the wormhole and all this shit to help us out is the very distant descendants of the Blight. That would have been the twist.
Okay.
So like, that would be the twist. So the Blight eventually, billions of years from now, evolved to become super intelligent. But they check back in the past and they realize, the Blight exists. The Blight's existence is what caused humanity now. So they kill us, but they went on to become thing. So that's how nature does work, or whatever it is. And then their recompense to fix the past will go back and to change things. That's how I interpret it. Whatever.
Right. So if I could just make one quick point, and then CC could get your thoughts on this big reveal, right, with the Tesseract and all that kind of stuff, right? So I will never forget seeing this moment for the first time, right? And again, I'm thinking about 2001 back then, right? And I was thinking, similar to the end of 2001 where they didn't explain a single thing, right after the whole Stargate sequence, right? I thought that this was what Nolan should have done, instead of having Cooper to say, this is, a third dimension with a fifth dimension, blah, 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 blah. Like, I thought
that's another big problem. That's another big problem I have with DC.
Yeah, I thought he was over-explaining things, right? He was just talking too much, right?
Yeah. If it was Nolan,
I know it's Nolan, but you know what I mean? Like let the visuals speak for themselves, right? And just like 2001, the end of that film, we will all think about it and we will come up with our own solutions. I don't think anybody outside of Arthur C.C. Clarke or Stanley Kubrick knows the real meaning behind the end of 2001, right? But I understand the nature of the film. It's a blockbuster. It's a theatrical release. It's mainstream. It's not an artsy film. So you have to kind of, you don't want people to walk out like, I was enjoying everything except the end. I don't understand a single thing that happened, right? But at the same time,
which people do anyway.
Yeah, but there's just a lot going on. And you have to suspend your disbelief so much, though. And then it gets even worse when they bring up the whole love thing. Now, I understand in the context with him reuniting with his daughter, don't mind, she's 10 at that point, and he had to try and communicate with her. Right. I still don't know how you're able to take, the whole the whole gravity equation thing and code it into a watch. I don't know.
Why you say that?
But But here's the problem though.
Where you get that information from? Why would he do it?
I don't know, but...
So I was like, wait, the future people, they download this in his brain, or he just get it because the information...
No, Tars told him.
Yeah, Tars told him. Tars told... I don't know, that's the thing. That's the thing. So to me, the biggest problem in the movie, Dread, is that as much as I love I think this is like the main theme, right? Of the musical theme of the movie, right? From Hans Zimmer. Yes, you're playing it. Yeah, yeah, that, right? Yes, and my heart's swelling. And you tell him about love and all these things, and I see the joy in Matthew McConaughey's face, right? Yes, I'm feeling it emotionally, but logically, it just makes no sense. And I'm trying to make sense of it, but it's almost like Nolan is just saying, look, let's just shut up. It's a movie. Listen to the music. Let the music guide you. Let the music tell you how to feel. Okay, right? I'm feeling it, but I don't understand what's going on. And that's the main problem I have with this moment,
Let's bring up another question, right? So ignoring the whole logical loophole paradox stuff, right? Look, whatever. Here's the other problem I have. Why does the future people care? Right? Why would future people care about the past? Like, that's like me giving a shit about the dodo or something. Like, it dead.
No, that's a great point. But you know what some idiot... Well, right. You know what some idiot was saying? Some idiot was saying, if the future people don't do anything, then all of humanity is wiped out. But no, because the future people would have survived and become so skilled that they could make friggin' black holes and wormholes. So, like, I mean, just saying.
Is it typical, again, ignoring the paradox stuff? Forget that.
Right, okay.
My point is, why would they give a shit to do all of this in the first place?
I don't know.
That's what I say. Again, unless you're willing to accept reject any classical sense of causality and say, well, no, they have to self-cause themselves into existence, which don't make any sense to me, or whatever. My thing is, even if you don't take that part and you do the branch timeline time travel thing, then they have to say why they give a shit going back in the past. That's like me saying I'm going to go back and care about Opabinia or some Archaeopteryx or some old animal in the past. Like, not really, like it's dead. Like, time to move on.
Yeah.
Like, but here's the argument. Again, it's another Catholic thing. God loves us. It's a God loves us argument. Like,
good point.
Like God care or something like that. No, God care. God does care because God is love. That's it. No more. If I'm not answering that logical sense, you have to kind of reject it now. That's usually the arguments I get from this kind of stuff. Again, if it was up to me, I would do the Star Trek thing and say, no, it's a timeline where they survived the disaster, but it was pretty bad. And then we come back to make things a little better. That's it. Right?
I thought...
My twist was you go even further with it, which is, no, it's the blight that survived and eventually evolved billions of years from now to make wormholes and black holes to come back, and there's a reason why they do it, is to say, it's a kind of, again, another love argument, but to say, no, you have to go back and save conscious creatures of the past, and they already save everything in their own timeline, and now they're going to make other universes to make other universes. Like, add another, like, fan ending too, where at the end, you would see, like, a second universe form. Like, if you just zoom out from the ending of the universe, and you'll see a second universe form, and then the two
that would look dope.
Make two other universes. Like, the ending would have been that. So you see, it would be like mitosis now.
Yeah.
You'll see a second universe form, and then those two universes would have make two other universes. And then those four would have make 8, and it would look like a egg now, like a baby being form or something like that.
And visually, that would have been equivalent to the end of 2001, right? Like, remember the Star Child? Like, remember that moment? I mean, come on, right? Yeah.
Something like that, right? Yeah. But that would be the end, and then it would just fade to white. But you wouldn't see what it looked like. You just see the multiplication process start now, implying that what they did was to start that by saving humanity. So humanity was necessary to make things, to kick the can down the road of saving somebody else or whatever it is.
Right. But, I'll hold on to that because I want to bring up a point when I do my final thoughts, right? So CC, your thoughts on, yes, easily the most complicated moment of that film? Yeah.
I mean, this is a moment I don't know if I was quite standing on our couch, but I was spent the whole sequence going, wait, what the fuck? What the fuck? like it was one of those big moments for me. But I don't know. I think like my interpretation of it was that the beings from the future are the direct descendants of humanity, and so they need to getting it without getting into the actual quantum mechanics of it all. My thought. What I had thought was going on was that these, as I said, these were the direct descendants of humanity from the future, and in order for them to still be alive, they had to, it's kind of the paradox of, like, they go back in time to save themselves so that they can exist in the future, that type thing.
Right.
But no, yeah, I think for me, that's the sequence. I don't know. The sequence works so well emotionally, I don't really think about it logically, if that makes sense. Like, it works because, like, it has been building so effectively this whole time. The reveal of, like, and especially since, like, there have been so many clues. This is the thing that's so funny. Oh, I know so many people. Like, there's so many people who feel like this comes out of Left Turn. But the movie has been setting this up. Like, literally, the last thing Murph says before Cooper leaves is trying to tell him that the books on the Morse code is saying stay, and he's like, yeah, sure, whatever, kid. Because again, this is a movie about how we should trust our feelings. But that sequence. So the sequence works so well works absolutely brilliantly on that emotional level, and like the bits where he's like on the other side of this bookcase, like, you know, trying to like be on it, trying to stop himself making the mistake that he now has so much regret about. It's really affecting, and I really appreciate it for that level. Like, I think it works. Obviously, the visuals of it all are absolutely gorgeous. This was the sequence that probably reminded me the most of Inception, I think.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, good visually, point. This is the scene that reminds me the most. Yeah, this is the scene that reminds me the most of Inception visually. And then I think we hadn't made reference to this so far, but shout out to Hoyt Van Hoyt, the cinematographer.
Yes.
He would later go on to he would later go on to work with, I think he worked with Nolan on every film they made after this, but this was the first film they did together. And there are so many sequences where they are making the sweetest music, and I am absolutely all over it.
I thought Contact did this better. Like, unclear ending, but like you feel unclear. But to me, Contact made more sense.
Like, it makes more like
me at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right.
It never made sense to me. It still don't make sense to me. Because again, it's the same. You had to reject any sense of classical causality to make it make sense. But if you reject classical causality, then where's the urgency? You see the problem?
Yeah.
Like, again, if you remember Arrival, same thing. She get the information from the future to give herself in the future, to tell herself in the past, to tell the fellow at the same time. So, you know,
it's time chicanery. That's what I thought. Time
is a flat circle, to borrow from Matthew McConaughey in True Detective, right? So,
oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you have to like just say, look, this is, you know, it's something. It don't make sense to me. It never made sense to me. That kind of stuff never makes sense to me. I prefer the Star Trek branch timeline bullshit. You go back in time.
I'm not going to pretend that would not be a better, like, maybe even a better film. I mean, if you're looking for an explanation, I feel like that would be the best. That would be the best explanation, you know. I think, I would agree with that.
Whatever.
Right.
That's my thing.
Yeah, so time to wrap up this movie, right? So Joseph finds himself on the outskirts of Saturn, that's what I call it, right? Yeah. And then he's rescued, right? So he wakes up in his hospital in Cooper Station, which is currently orbiting Saturn, right? And a nice bit of writing, you find out that it was named after Murph because, she saved the world with all the details.
Right, she's the one who's the big timer,
Right, and another nice piece of writing, you realize that all the talking head that we saw before were displayed in Cooper Station. I like, this is real cool. So, like, there's like a literal replica of the Cooper of Cooper's home. And you're seeing these TVs and you're seeing these same interviews that we saw before in the beginning of the film. I thought that was great though, right? And then in a moment similar to Professor Brand's death, Cooper meets, Murph, but she's dying now in a deathbed, right?
Yeah, she will, and she's her whole family because
she has an extended family, right? So if I just have one major gripe with this movie, one to Tom. Okay, they set up, while all this drama going on, well, all right. So his wife and son was sick because all the dust and all that kind of stuff. But what happened to Tom though? Like, I don't know. I'm a completionist. I like to see all the narratives threads, neaten, right? So show me, at least tell me that Tom dead now, because even Cooper and all is just like, he doesn't even bring up Tom though. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, no, you didn't care about the daughter.
It's all about Murph. That's why he all yelling, no, Murph. He just screaming in the test track, Murph. But what about Tom? What about Tom?
Tom grew up to be Casey Affleck.
Right.
And that was the end.
That's
The end.
wrong.
Yeah, that's all. That's all, right? Whatever, right? Yeah, so she pretty much encourages him to leave Murph and go and find Amelia, right? Because they set up that she set up camp in Edmund's planet, right? And I won't lie to you though, like that moment was really genuinely heartbreaking, right? Because she reached, right? And how they set it up is that Edmund could have reached at that exact time and died, right? And she just came years afterwards, right? You know, the whole thing of time, right? So she came and his ship is down and it's clear that he's dead because she built a grave for him and whatnot, right? But she's all alone there, boy. And then when you hear that music in the background, it's like, boy, I feel real sorry for Shija because, she literally followed her heart and look at where it took her, right? But it's a hospitable planet, right? It's...
Right.
Yeah.
So he's without a helmet on,
Yeah, exactly. So, but this is why I love the whole Dr. Mann side plot, right? Because look at what happened with him. He was all alone and he just sort of gave up. So look at how his character turned out, right? So knowing that now, Cooper's like, I have to go back and save her, or at least stay with her, right?
Yeah, I gotta get over there before she snaps.
Yeah, and I won't lie, just that thought behind that though really make for a really heartwarming and heartbreaking end, in my opinion, though. So even though that whole climax was all over the place and it didn't really make a lick of sense when you really think about it, the ending though really, really hit though. Like it really hit though, in my opinion, right? Just especially with Amelia and where she's at and what she had to deal with, right? Yeah, and you could tell this is Nolan, this is Christopher and Jonathan Nolan wearing their hearts on their sleeve. Like, look, this is what I'm trying to tell all you dread. It don't matter. Like this is how we all survive, man. Time and space. Yes. It's all about love uniting us, man. Great. This is what we're trying to say. Yo, you know what I mean? And it just ends, right? but yeah, guys, before we get to final thoughts, any thoughts on the ending? That's the outro.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's still, it really feel like Nolan pulled all the bongos for this show. Like,
you're talking about hippie bongos, like peace and love?
Yeah. It really feel like that. Like, it just feel like, you take a little bit of masculine.
Oh, God.
And, this never makes sense to me. Like, it just does not make sense.
Well, how so?
I get it emotionally, Emotionally, I get that. I get it. He reunited the daughter. They come back full circle with the thing, and they see them playing baseball, and they have like a kind of like a O'Neill cylinder type structure.
Yeah, that was a cool shot. Very cool. Inception. Very Inception inspired.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so it's all of that, and it's so like listen, I dig in all of that, and humanity now flourishing, right? We get off Earth apparently because of the equation that Coop give Murph somehow. But I don't know. I just wanted the logic of this to be a little better. Right?
Yeah. If I can just stop you, what's like Ricardo? And it just now dawned on me, right? That's what I get out, right? I think what would have made the scene work is if Cooper had buried Murph, and then while he's just kind of thinking about his journey, he's thinking about Amelia, and then it's like, oh, what if she's all there by herself? So he makes the decision, not have Murph in her dying bed say, look, go to Amelia. Like, I mean, I understand, but I mean, he should have made the decision, not have somebody make it for him. That's what I say.
I don't know. Yeah, I suppose maybe. Like, I get it. Like, I suppose. Like, but to me, again, it's not the emotions of it. Like, again, him meeting Murph at the deathbed and all of that. All that's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But it's just the logic of this. The logic of getting from point A to point B it didn't make sense to me. I show it out some 2-hour lecture that I have to watch on YouTube for it to make sense. But that's not the problem. That's part of the problem, right? That the mere fact you have to go through this rigmarole. And I'm sorry, I think stories need to be kind of dumb in that way. Right? They kind of have to be twisted in that way. In that sense, like as in I have to follow this logic from point A to point B, even if it dominates down from it. Right? I'll admit my version is kind of dumber. Because it does the Star Trek branch timeline thing, right? But to me, that just makes more intuitive sense. Like to me, this fellow who I have no problem shitting on. But he does serve a purpose for that. He's very good at dumbing down scripts now. What's his name?
Don't tell me Snyder, right? No.
No, Snyder.
No.
Who write Batman v Superman? Right?
I know the guy.
Goya.
David S. Goya.
David S. Goya. Yeah.
David S. Goya. Right.
Yeah, but he and Nolan is boys too, right? Yeah, I remember that.
Exactly.
They work together.
All this shit.
They were boys for the Dark Knight trilogy, and that is
exactly.
Yeah,
but for all the shit, I would give Goya. I felt if you could apply Goya to the script and have him dumb it down a little bit, just dumb it down a little bit, just have it flow better. It would work. It would be better. Because as I said, this movie up until the black hole sequence is next to perfect for me, right? It is next to perfect until the black hole sequence, and that black hole sequence do not work for me at all. Right, the Tesseract sequence I think does not work, in my humble opinion. Not bad, not like the worst thing ever. It's just but I felt they could have punched this up. Right, and as I say, it's two thirds of a masterpiece, right? So is that, and that's my kind of last point on this to get out of the door.
Right. So just before we get to CC's thoughts on the outro, right? I did watch that honest trailer of Interstellar after watching the recap of this, right? I love how they jokingly said, oh, so he went through all this drama just to have he daughter say, hey, go through that all over again just to see Amelia. Remember, he had to go through the wormhole to get to where she's at. Keep that in mind.
I don't think. Okay, so somebody could correct me, but I didn't think what they said was like wrong. Like, I don't think they were being uncharitable or misinterpreting the film at all. Like, that's what happened.
Yeah, no, they are blunt. They are very honest, honest trailers. It's like, that's what happened. That's what he did.
I don't think they misinterpreted the film or anything. Like,
no, that's what happened.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like, the Tesseract thing didn't make any sense. It's just like future people somehow doing the thing to save themselves. Well, none of that makes sense.
But yeah, before we get to final thoughts, so CC, any thoughts on the outro? What do you think about the end of the film?
I think the nerdiest thing I can say for this whole sequence is, and this goes back to this movie's absolutely delicious 3-hour runtime. I love how slow this is. Like, I love how once we get through the Tesseract, once we finish the Tesseract stuff and he comes to, this is a movie that breathes in a really beautiful way from the word go, and it breathes so well. Like, it deliberately takes its time to do all the things it is trying to do, and I really love that because it makes for it makes for a movie with such a pleasant pace to it. And I really love that technically we've already had I'm one of those nerds that doesn't really have any problem with the ending to Return of the King. Like, I don't have a problem with the multiple endings. Like, I'm that person. And so, and I'm talking the extended cut too. So I really appreciate that, like, after we've had technically what is supposed to be the big movie climax, we then have this whole we have the bit where he comes out of this, he's exploring the new reality he finds himself in. He's dealing with all this other stuff. He's meeting his daughter. He has that whole bit where he and the robot just kind of live on the replica of the farmhouse for the implication is for a few days, and they just kind of live there, and then the kind of, I really love the, sending him off to go and like find Amelia thing, because like also for me it kind of sets up this idea of like the story goes on. I have a soft spot for kind of open-ended narratives like that, like the idea being like, well, the story we are telling is so big that you have only seen a piece of it. Like the story of humanity's continued striving and its attempt to succeed will go on, and like that's really, I actually do think it's kind of funny though, because they talk about the whole thing of like Murphy Cooper being like Cooper Station being named after Murphy Cooper, and they also have the whole thing where she kind of says offhandedly, they never believed me about like that you were alive, and the hilarious implication is that from the perspective of the human race, Murphy Cooper, all by her lonesome, solved quantum mechanics with no, because they don't know about the ghost thing. And when she tried to tell them, they were like, yeah, sure, you were talking to the ghost of your dead dad. I'm sure that is exactly, no, he's not dead. He was in another reality. Yeah, absolutely. So from their perspective, she's a maths genius.
Right.
So from their perspective, and she's the single-handed savior of humanity. Like, I love that. It's this little detail, but I think that, like, I actually find it quite funny and charming. But yeah, no, I have no kind of the little bow on what was been for me, like an absolute masterpiece of a movie.
Right. So final thoughts and rating for me, right? Back then in 2014, despite its narrative flaws, I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was a truly ambitious film from Nolan. And looking back at it now after 10 years, though, I'm actually amazed, though, at how much it still holds up, though. And just the ambition that is bleeding throughout this movie, right? From start to end, right? You hear it in the music, you see it in the visuals, you see it in the performances, and you really feel it in the emotion that's being portrayed, right? It's not to say that, Nolan's films didn't have a level of emotion, right? Like, I would admit this to anybody. The end of The Dark Knight brought me to tears, right? That's the sacrifice what, Batman had to do. And then especially when that kid says, but he didn't do anything wrong. And then, of course, that music in the background, man, tears. Swear to God, I cry at the end of The Dark Knight. You heard this from me. Laugh at me as all as you want to, but okay, I cry at that shit, right? Well,
gotcha.
Yeah, anyway. But this one was, again, like I keep saying, this was him and his brother just wearing their heart on his sleeves, right? It's really like, I think like this film was kind of designed for people who thought, it's just more about the technique and the world of the film and not so much about the characters and the emotions. And it was like kind of Christopher saying, here's what, I gotta give you emotion, but I also want to explore really existential themes, right? Very, very provocative themes about life and existence, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna throw all that to this movie, right? That being said, though, while I do admire the Kubrickian levels he went to make this film work, right? I felt like he was restrained, like either self-restrained or maybe the studio itself. I think it's self-restrained, right? By the blockbuster, the blockbuster. I want to call it a level, not so much a bubble, that the blockbuster level that he was in, right? In other words, he's not doing 2001 for, the artsy crowd, like how back in 68, right? It was for the mainstream, right? But even back in 60, when 2001 dropped, a lot of people didn't understand what that movie was about. And they walked out like, I don't understand this shit, right? But, for some people who just went in to get high, they enjoy that, right? And yes, still to this day, they rank as one of the best shows to watch while high, right? I don't think so, right? Like, you're telling me you're going to sit for 2 hours and then wait for the Stargate sequence to get high too? Come on, man, really? But anyway, right? But then because of the craft of it as well too, and the themes of what he was saying, and that's how groundbreaking everything was. That's why a lot of people came back out of it after numerous viewings, and that's why today is regarded as one of the greatest films of all time, right? But I feel like this was where Nolan wanted to reach. He wanted to get to that level. He wanted to tell a story that was so abstract now, but still have a general story that people could follow, right? So that's why I feel, the whole climax with the Tesseract, that's where things kind of fall apart, right? He want to be out there. He want to be unique. He want to be distinct. But he don't want to make it too weird, that people walk out of it and think it's all arty-farty or pretentious. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to quantify because you give him a whole bunch of science stuff and you're really making it clear that this is authentic. But then you want to throw in the whole love thing yet again and try to work that around, and you're thinking that some hands and music is supposed to make me buy into everything. And I'm sorry, even watching it today, I just couldn't, right? But I still felt the emotion. I still felt the heart of it, right? And that to me is what really works for me. That's the heart behind it, right? In addition to the stunning visuals which still hold up to this day. This is some of the best space shots or visuals, I should say, I've ever seen in a movie, right? That alone earns it a star, or 2 stars in my opinion, right? But for me, it's not top 5 favorite Nolan films though. But it will be. It is in my top 10. I don't know. I don't know how much films he has in total, but this is easily top 10 for me, right? So yes, despite the flaws and despite him wrestling with, okay, I want to make my 2001 something that could stand the test of time and people will be looking at it for years and learning new things about it. But at the same time, I want to make it kind of understandable enough so my audience can understand it. But then the end result is, oh, but that don't make sense. Or maybe if I think about it, that makes sense. Or as you say, Ricardo, maybe if I watch a video essay, that'll make sense, right? It's one of those things, one of those kind of.
Not a video essay, a physics lecture.
That. Okay. I thought you meant a video essay. Oof. Okay, right. Yeah. Something like that now, you know what I mean? And yeah, just speaking of that too, Wi-Fi was real balls. You look at it now, though, again, is how much he leaned towards science and scientific facts and physics. Right. Yeah, can you imagine again, 3/4 of that audience who was with me in IMAX and Movie Town didn't understand a single thing what was being said, but when you see it, it's okay, I think I understand. Okay, that look cool though. I don't understand that, but that look cool though, It's one of those things. Again, is the back and forth. Intellectual, but you want to be entertaining, it's all these back and forth.
This movie is the meme, the meme where it have the bell curve, it have a genius on one side, an idiot on the other side, and a person in the middle. And the genius have the same opinion as the idiot, but the person in the middle is stressing out completely. That is me in this movie. I'm that guy in the middle. Right?
I understand.
I'm not super dumb, but not super smart either. And I get the feeling that people way smarter than me love this movie. People way dumber than me love this movie. But the people in the middle hate this movie.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. I don't hate this movie at all. As I said, I think this movie is a very flawed masterpiece. Right?
That's the best way to sum it up, right? And just to wrap up, right? I don't know. I have to look back and see what the initial reception of 2001 was, right? But I know a lot of people didn't like it, but they really admired the craft behind it, right?
It was actually a pretty decent hit. I think it's one of the. It's a little bit like The Godfather. How, in a more contemporary sense, we think about that movie and it's people really queuing up around the block to see this kind of slow 3-hour-long gangster movie. Yes.
Yeah.
2001 was it wasn't a runaway blockbuster hit, not in kind of the more modern sense, but it was an incredibly well received, I think, and it got a bunch of Academy Award nominations for special effects and things like that.
Yeah. So let me just get to one time, right? So for me, looking at it now, 10 years from now, and still owning the Blu-ray, I'm feeling proud of that. Strong 4 to 4.5 out of 5. I still think that this is one of his best works, one of his most ambitious works. This was him entering into auteur territory, right? He was gearing up with it with Inception. I think Inception was the moment where he was like, all right, I get in there, folks. I'm going to really stretch my creative limits with film, right? Really push myself, right? But here I was like, all right, I want to be regarded as one of the greats, one of the goats, right? And 10 years afterwards, we could safely call him that, right? Now, I'll close this, right? Now, I don't know if over the years this will be, up there in the AFI's top 100 list or whatnot, like a 2001. I don't know, right? And I kind of doubt it, in my opinion. But I feel like over the years, I think that this show has longevity. People will go back to it and pick things from it, right? But I know that there will still be things that people will still be iffy about and still wouldn't make any sense. And they could just sort of write it off and be like, well, that it's a flaw, okay, whatever, right? But I know that there will be some who just will not forgive the whole love is the strongest force in the universe thing,
Right.
But, teach his own, right? So that's that, right? But I'll close this, right? Yeah, this was just a step in Nolan's ascension, if you will, into film, into film immortality, right? He had to start somewhere. He make big swings with this. I think for the most part it works. Right? So flaws and all. The man did his damn thing with this, man. And I would say if it wasn't for this, he wouldn't continue on. Just stretching his limits as far as film goes, as far as genre goes and whatnot. And now he's an Oscar winner. Now he have a Best Picture award on this belt, right? So as you say, CC, the question is what he's gonna do next, right? I would love him to do a horror though, Kubrick did a horror, my favorite horror of all time, right? The Shining. So I would love to see Nolan do a horror one day, right? But that's that. So I could talk on and on about it. But for me, this is still top 10 as far as favorite Nolan films go. But for me, my number one, of course, is Dark Knight, and second place is Inception, which, as I said before, is one of the top 10 of the 2010s, right? So that's that. Mm-hmm. But Ricardo, final thoughts, rating, looking back at it now on this movie.
As I say, it's a movie that, listen, you have to see it in IMAX. And when I saw it in IMAX at the time, it was amazing. Just from a purely technical standpoint, it's just blew me away. Acting was good, I find, for the most part. Everything about this movie was pretty good, up until the black hole part, right? But this movie is, as I say, a very flawed masterpiece because the good is great, right? The good is great, absolutely Nolan's best work period, especially that docking sequence, right? It's just everything about this movie really, really works. And to me, as I said, I don't know, I'm in the camp that thinks if the movie was a little dumber, I would enjoy it a little more in that sense, as in more intuitive, right? More accessible. I just did not understand the Tesseract sequence. I didn't understand the logic of it, where you get the information from, how I can follow any of that. And I just come across like just noise and gobbledygook to me. But that's me. Other than that, like I still like the material, the emotions, as CC put it, the romantic and angle of that, and why that works so well. In terms of the that classical romantical conceit of how to think about things in that sense, and that's why it works. But it just come across like sorry to say that ending just come across way too pseudo spiritual in all the wrong ways. And I just don't think it worked, but I didn't hate it. With all of that said, I still give it a very high score, like a 9 out of 10. For the hand wringing and national Tita have over the plotting, it's still great, a great movie. Like I remember just being really impressed with what I saw there on screen when I watched that 10 years ago in IMAX. It was really, really amazing stuff. So I look, all the problems I have with it, I still love it a lot. Great movie. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah, so CC, and first off, before I forget, thank you so much for finally sitting down to watch the movie. So now you have a fresh perspective on the movie. You do have 10 years to think about it. But yeah, offer your first viewing, your final thoughts, rating, and I should ask you, right, seeing this is the first time you've seen this. How do you see this film holding up years after you see this?
I actually am going to go a step further. I don't think we need to speculate how this film is going to hold up. I think we can already kind of see it happening in real time. On Letterboxd, which I feel like at this point, it's not controversial to say Letterboxd is kind of the premium app, like the premium app for film socializing, film social media, that kind of thing. It's where more people getting on there all the time. I see more like there's someone on there who just posts all of Pauline Kael's old reviews. Both Scorsese and Coppola are on now, and I think it's really interesting. If you go on Letterboxd and you go to Christopher Nolan's page, and you go to his page as a director, and you set it to arrange his films in order of highest rated among Letterboxd users, Interstellar. By a bit, I think. Obviously, and Oppenheimer is a close second, and when you think about that, that's wild because everyone was talking about Oppenheimer, and Oppenheimer has the advantage of recency bias, and yet Interstellar still pushes over it. And you go to the reviews for the user reviews for Interstellar, and it's a lot of 9s and 10s, a lot of hearts, and there's one thing I keep seeing over and over again. I cried. This is the thing I keep reading over and over and over again, looking among the people. I think Interstellar did, especially kind of when it first came out, and it was coming out in the wake of The Dark Knight, did have kind of it struggled against its more logical, like the parts of it that, if you feel like this is a more logical film, are going to be deeply unsatisfying. And I'm not saying this is a reading either of you. I'm talking mostly about people who dislike it in a more general sense. But I've noticed that there are a lot of people who really were invested in the idea that this movie had some kind of a logical explanation, and those people were bitterly disappointed to not only have to deal with the love is a force monologue, but then essentially that she was right, because technically if they had gone to that planet instead of Dr. Mann's, they would have been better off, and they wouldn't have a lot of the bad stuff that happened wouldn't have happened, but then some of the other stuff wouldn't have happened, time travel shenanigans, whatever. I think that Interstellar's big strength, and I'm putting beside the performances, which are excellent, production design, excellent, script, I love, notice I phrase that in the most subjective way, I love that, more than anything else that this film has going for it, this film makes emotional sense. This film does not quite fire logically. Maybe if you sat down and you thought about it really hard and you went through the whole thing, this film would be frustrating. But emotionally speaking, as far as having an emotional through line and having, maybe you don't always know who the beings who the beings are who orchestrated all these events. But the emotional through line in this movie is so palpable that most people who watch it have a completely satisfying emotional experience with the film. And let's be clear, that is a risk. And it's a risk that didn't pay off for some people. We're sitting here, I think as far as retrospect reviews go, this is one of the more not heated, but like one of the more esoteric and one of the more like general art like discussions we've ever had, because this is a movie.
I succeeded, yes.
No, easily. Because like this is a movie that's not really designed to be universally liked. This is a movie that takes a pretty big risk where it's like, I am going to make a film that has an emotional logic rather than a logic. And that is a risk because, as we've been discussing, that will turn some people off. Some people are going to go, nope, I can't do that. That's not for me. That doesn't make any sense. I can't really buy into that. And like, yeah, there are people in among all those 9 out of 10s and 10 out of 10s you see on Letterboxd. There's a couple 3s, there's a couple 2s, there's a couple like half stars or people trying to do zeros that are like, I don't. Essentially, it all boils down to the same thing. I don't get it. I didn't buy into it. I am frustrated and unhappy.
You know, I wonder in retrospect if there's people who just flat out hate the film, like hate it.
There are people who hate Interstellar. It's fascinating.
Whoa.
Like
that's news to me. Wow.
No. If you go, literally, just go to any site where people are talking about it, just like set it so that you see the bottom reviews first. And yeah, you get a couple people who are just trying to be jokesters, but there's some people who genuinely hate this movie, and it's fascinating. And it's like, these people, and because again, as we said, Christopher Nolan takes a risk. And for these people, and it's a risk that alienated some people from this movie, and even people who liked it. A lot of people like this film with asterisks, and I respect the crap out of that. This is a man who just came off a pretty successful blockbuster trilogy based on one of the most successful IPs, and his follow-up is to make a movie that is profoundly weird and is like, I'm going to take a risk alienating my audience because the people who get it will get it. It's like the Bugs Bunny suit meme of the, I wish all two people who got that reference a very pleasant evening. Right. Like it's very much the people who this movie is on their wavelength, they get it. There's some people that are going to be alienated by it, but the movie and Nolan and his brother Jonathan and all the other people that he got to work on this, they don't mind. Like, they're like, okay, this movie will not be liked by everyone, and that is okay. And I think one of the other things this is probably the benefit of hindsight talking as well, but also watching this movie, I can't help but find myself thinking about all the greatness that is going to be realized with Oppenheimer. There's a lot of moments in this movie that feel like essentially foreshadowing, like, okay, like some of the ideas and some of the moments that we will later see explored in Oppenheimer, you kind of see it. Like, obviously, as I already said, this is his first film with Hoyt van Hoyt doing the cinematography, and some of the effect and some of the shots and things feel very reminiscent to Oppenheimer. Like, this very much feels like, whatever else you want to say, whatever else you take away from this movie, in a lot of ways, this is one of the stepping stones to Oppenheimer in Christopher Nolan's career. Masterpiece for me, obviously. As I said, I like the Christopher Nolan movies. I like a lot, so it's really. I know that Oppenheimer is my number one, but I have a really hard time figuring out what my number two is. This one's kind of beating out the others, but I think that's recency bias because I also really like Inception and The Prestige and Memento. But like, at the moment, this feels like my number two after Oppenheimer for me. Like, yeah, fantastic.
Nice. So what would you rate it? What's your rating, yo?
10 out of 10. 10 out of, like,
nice.
I love. Goddamn this. I literally, as I said, I texted my friend where I was like, I realized I don't dislike Christopher Nolan. I dislike the Dark Knight trilogy. And I am almost goddamn 30, and I've only now figured out, okay, that's what was happening the whole time. I don't dislike Nolan. I dislike the Dark Knight trilogy specifically.